Picture this. A 71-year-old grandfather still walks his dog every morning, still carries his own groceries, still thinks he's doing fine, until he stands up from a chair and his legs hesitate, not from age alone, but from what's missing on his plate. Here's what I'll show you today. You feel it in small moments first. You get out of bed, you walk to the bathroom, you step off a curb, you rise from the couch, and your legs don't answer the way they used to. Not dramatic, just slower, a little shaky, a little heavy, a little less steady on stairs. And if you're over 60, it's completely reasonable to wonder about that. Most people do. You're not imagining it. You're not being lazy, and you're not broken. Picture someone in this situation, a 68-year-old retired school teacher, still does crossword puzzles before breakfast, still walks her neighborhood loop every morning, still loves taking her grandkids to the park. Lately, she notices one thing. Her upper body feels fine. Her mind feels sharp. But her legs get tired first. Every single time. That kind of story is common. Not because your body is failing, because your body is changing. And your legs often show it first. I'm Jason Ford. On this channel, I review published research on senior health and translate it into plain English. The part a 15-minute appointment usually doesn't have time to unpack. Before we get into it, drop two things in the comments: your age and the city or state you're watching from. I read every comment on this channel. It changes how I make these videos. Take 5 seconds, drop it below. I'll wait. Here's the first big idea. Leg weakness after 60 is often less about one big disease and more about three quieter shifts happening at the same time. First, you lose muscle more easily with age. Second, your body often gets less efficient at using protein. Third, your balance, nerve signaling, and recovery can all get a little less sharp if certain nutrients are running low. That combination matters. The National Institute on Aging, in its 2022 Falls Guidance, connects age-related loss of muscle mass, sarcopenia, with balance and gait problems, and lists it as a risk factor for falling. That's a simple sentence, but it carries a lot. Because gait just means how you walk. And when your walk changes, your life changes with it. You stop moving as freely. You think twice about stairs. You hold the railing longer. You avoid quick turns. You sit down more carefully. You plan around your legs. That's how it starts. And here's where a lot of videos go off the rails. They tell you one miracle powder, one secret vitamin, one overnight fix. That's not what the research says. The research says your legs are living tissue. They respond to fuel, use, circulation, balance, sleep, medications, and time. So yes, food matters. A lot. But food is not magic. That's good news, by the way. Because if the problem were magic, you couldn't do much about it. Since it's physiology, you can work with it. Think of your leg muscles like the engine in an older pickup truck. The truck can still run beautifully, but it needs the right fuel, the right oil, regular use, and a driver who doesn't leave it parked for months. Your body works the same way. Muscle is expensive tissue. Your body only keeps it if it has a reason. If you don't use it, you lose some of it. If you don't feed it well, you rebuild less of it. And if your balance, nerves, or bone support are off, your legs feel that first, because they carry you. Harvard Health explained this clearly in a muscle health review. The legs matter not just for strength, but for power, how fast and efficiently you move. That's a key distinction. Strength is whether you can do something. Power is whether you can do it in time to catch yourself. That's the difference between climbing a stair and stumbling on one. Now here's the quiet shift most people never hear about. As you age, your muscles can become less responsive to normal amounts of protein. Researchers often call this anabolic resistance. You don't need the term, you need the picture. Picture a doorbell that used to ring with one press. Now it takes two. Your muscles still respond, they just don't respond as easily. That's one reason a 2018 review in the journal Nutrients, by Steadier and colleagues, highlighted higher protein needs in many older adults. often in the range of 1.0 to 1.2 grams per kilogram per day for healthy older people, especially alongside strength activity. The same review discussed the value of spreading protein across meals, with many studies pointing to about 25 to 30 grams of high quality protein at a meal as a useful target. Not for everyone. Not as a rigid rule. And not if your doctor has you on kidney-related restrictions or another special diet. But it gives you a direction. And here's the part most channels skip. A 2014 meta-analysis published in PLOS One looked at protein or amino acid supplementation in older adults and found that protein alone did not significantly improve lean body mass gain or leg strength compared with placebo across a diverse elderly population. Read that again. Protein matter, yes, but protein alone is not a magic wand. That's why I don't want to sell you fantasy. I want to give you a smarter grocery list. Because the real goal isn't just eat more protein. The real goal is this. Give your legs the raw materials they need for muscle protein synthesis, nerve function, muscle contraction, bone support, and day-to-day power. That means more than one nutrient. The NIH Office of Dietary Supplements says magnesium is involved in more than 300 enzyme systems, including protein synthesis, muscle and nerve function. It also helps move calcium and potassium across cell membranes, a big deal for muscle contraction and nerve impulses. That sounds technical. Here's the plain English version. If protein is the brick, magnesium helps run the construction site. The same NIH office says vitamin D supports neuromuscular function, helps normal growth and development of muscle fibers, and that low vitamin D can affect muscle strength and lead to weakness and pain. The NIH also notes that older adults are at increased risk of low vitamin D. That matters. Because a lot of people over 60 are trying hard, eating pretty well, and still missing key support. Then there's fish. The American Heart Association recommends 2 servings of fish a week, especially fatty fish. Not because fish turns you into a bodybuilder. Because fish gives you protein, and in many cases, omega-3 fats, which have broader value for heart health and may also support muscle health in aging. And here's where the video turns. Fast does not mean overnight. It means you can start fast. Tonight. At breakfast tomorrow. At the grocery store this week, the plate can change quickly, even if the body changes gradually. If this is useful so far, subscribe. I do one of these every week and I keep them grounded in named sources, not hype. Now let's get practical. I'm going to give you 6 foods. Not 6 miracle foods. 6 useful foods. Simple, repeatable, and backed by what we know about muscle support in older adults. And I'm going to give them to you in reverse order. Number 3 surprises people, because it's a drink. And number 1 is the one almost nobody talks about the right way. Number 6, eggs. Eggs are simple, soft, affordable, and easy to build around. They give you high-quality protein, and the NIH Vitamin D fact sheet lists egg yolks among foods that naturally contain small amounts of vitamin D. That doesn't make eggs a complete answer. It makes them a strong base. 2 eggs with fruit and whole grain toast is a very different morning than toast and coffee alone. 1 meal gives your legs building material. The other mainly gives you momentum for an hour. If you've been told to limit certain foods for a specific medical reason, ask your own doctor or dietitian how eggs fit your plan. But for many people, eggs are one of the easiest upgrades on the list. Number 5, plain Greek yogurt. Harvard Health's Muscle Mass Review gave a practical example here. About 17 grams of protein in 6 ounces of plain Greek yogurt. That's useful because many older adults struggle less with soft foods than with large portions of meat. Greek yogurt is also easy to pair. Add berries. Add nuts if chewing is comfortable. Stir in oats. You've suddenly built a breakfast or snack that does more for your legs than crackers ever will. And here's the shareable point. A weak breakfast often leads to a weak afternoon. Not because lunch failed. Because you started the day without enough material to maintain muscle. That's the kind of fact families remember. Number 4, beans and lentils. The National Institute on Aging. in its meal planning guidance for older adults, specifically recommends adding seafood, dairy, or fortified soy products, along with beans, peas, and lentils, to help get enough protein throughout the day and maintain muscle. That's a big clue. Beans and lentils don't just bring protein. They also bring fiber, slow-burning carbohydrates, and magnesium. Harvard Health's Nutrition Review points to legumes as useful sources here. The NIH Magnesium Fact Sheet does too. Think of beans as a 2-for-1 food, fuel plus structure. Soup with lentils, black beans with eggs, chili with beans, hummus with vegetables. You do not need exotic recipes. You need repeatable food. Now this next one is the one everyone misses. Number 3, fortified milk or fortified soy milk. Why this one surprises people is simple. Most people hear stronger legs, and they think powder. The NIH Vitamin D Fact Sheet says fortified foods provide most of the vitamin D in American diets, including milk, many plant milk alternatives, and some cereals. That means one glass can quietly support several systems at once. Protein if you choose dairy or higher protein soy, fluid, and often vitamin D. That matters even more if your appetite is smaller than it used to be. A lot of leg weakness problems are really not enough total intake problems in disguise. Not enough protein, not enough calories, not enough fluid, not enough consistency. And if you're wondering whether a supplement is better, maybe not. That depends on your labs, your medications, your kidney function, your digestion, and your doctor's advice. Food first makes sense for many people. Dosing decisions belong with your own clinician. Number 2, salmon, sardines, or other fatty fish. This one pulls double duty. The American Heart Association recommends 2 servings of fish a week, especially fatty fish. The NIH Vitamin D Fact Sheet lists salmon, trout, tuna, and mackerel among the best natural food sources of vitamin D. And fish gives you high-quality protein. That is a strong combination. Support for muscle. Support for vitamin D intake. Support for heart health. One food, several angles. A simple salmon fillet with potatoes and vegetables does more than fill you up. It gives your body materials it can use. Picture a different composite scenario here. A 74-year-old former mail carrier still gardens, still mows his own yard, but says his legs feel empty by late afternoon. He starts adding fish twice a week, replaces one light lunch with salmon salad and beans, and pairs it with chair stands 3 days a week. 3 weeks later, he doesn't say he feels younger. He says something better. I feel steadier. That's the kind of win people care about. And now number 1. Leafy greens, especially spinach. Not because spinach is a cartoon answer. Because the NIH Magnesium Fact Sheet lists green leafy vegetables as good magnesium sources, and magnesium helps with muscle and nerve function, protein synthesis, and the movement of calcium and potassium involved in muscle contraction. Here's the plain version. Muscles don't just need bulk. They need signal. Leafy greens help support that signal. Spinach in an omelet. Spinach in soup. A smoothie with spinach, fruit, and yogurt, which the National Institute on Aging even uses as a sample meal idea for older adults. This does not need to be fancy. But here's where most people get it wrong. They eat one healthy salad at lunch, then go right back to a low-protein, low-fluid, low-calorie pattern the rest of the day. Your legs don't care about one good meal. They care about the pattern. So here's the practical formula. At breakfast, choose eggs or Greek yogurt. At lunch, add beans, lentils, or fish. At dinner, make room for salmon and leafy greens. And across the week, use fortified milk or fortified soy if your regular intake is low. That's the food part. Now let me add the part the internet keeps trying to dodge. The CDC says adults 65 and older need aerobic, muscle strengthening, and balance activities each week, including at least 2 days of muscle strengthening activity plus balance work. Why am I saying that in a food video? Because food gives your body ingredients. Movement tells your body where to send them. No signal, less adaptation. That's why one of the most effective habits is pairing protein-containing meals with leg use. walking, sit-to-stands, step-ups, resistance bands, supervised strength work, whatever fits your body and your doctor's advice. If you want one question to ask your doctor, here it is. Could my leg weakness be related to muscle loss, low vitamin D, low iron, B12, thyroid issues, medication side effects, nerve problems, or something else that should be checked? That one question can save a lot of drifting. And here's my second comment prompt for you. Which of these 6 foods do you already eat most often? Eggs, Greek yogurt, beans, fortified milk, salmon, or spinach? Put that in the comments. I'm curious what your real-life plate looks like. If you have a parent or a spouse or a friend this applies to, this is worth 60 seconds of their time. Send it to them. Now, I want to answer the question I know is in your head. Jason, can food really strengthen my legs, or is this oversold? Here's the honest answer. Food can support stronger legs. Food alone usually doesn't rebuild them. That is the adult answer, and it's the useful one. If your legs are weaker because you're under-eating protein, missing vitamin D sources, staying too sedentary, or recovering poorly, better food may help quite a bit over time, especially when paired with strength and balance work. If your weakness is coming from spinal stenosis, severe arthritis, neuropathy, circulation problems, medication effects, or a new illness, food helps support the body, but it does not replace diagnosis. That's why I keep the claims careful. Let me name the sources one more time, because you deserve to know where this comes from. The National Institute on Aging, 2022, connects sarcopenia, balance, and gait problems to fall risk in older adults. The NIH Office of Dietary Supplements explains that vitamin D supports neuromuscular function and muscle fibers, and that low levels can affect muscle strength. The same office explains that magnesium is involved in protein synthesis, muscle and nerve function, and the movement of calcium and potassium needed for contraction. The American Heart Association recommends 2 servings of fish a week, especially fatty fish. The 2018 Nutrients Review by Tessier and colleagues lays out why protein distribution, leucine-rich foods, vitamin D, and omega-3s are all part of the muscle health conversation in aging. And the 2014 PLOS-1 meta-analysis is the reality check. Protein alone is not a guaranteed shortcut. That's why this video is about patterns, not promises. Now the red flags. There are situations where you should call your doctor today. Not next week, today. If one leg suddenly becomes much more swollen, painful, red, or warm than the other. If your legs suddenly feel weak along with numbness, new back pain, or trouble controlling your bladder or bowels. If walking becomes sharply harder over days, not months. If you feel severe calf pain with shortness of breath or chest pain. If you fall because your leg gives out, or you suddenly cannot stand from a chair when you normally can. If you're exhausted, pale, losing weight without trying, or your weakness is new and unexplained. Those are outside the scope of a video like this. They need direct evaluation. Let me run through the core points quickly. 1. Legs often show age-related weakness early because they carry your body, your balance, and your power. 2. Food matters most as a pattern, not as a miracle. 3. 6 useful foods to build around are eggs, plain Greek yogurt, beans or lentils, fortified milk or fortified soy milk, salmon or other fatty fish, and leafy greens like spinach. 4. Protein alone is not the whole story. Vitamin D, magnesium, fluids, and total intake matter too. 5. The body keeps muscle better when food is paired with muscle strengthening and balance work. Here's the whole message in one sentence. If you want steadier, stronger legs after 60, feed the muscle, support the signal, and give your body a reason to keep what it builds. And there's one thing I still haven't told you. The reason some people eat better, walk more, and still feel wobbly. It may have less to do with muscle and more to do with timing, blood pressure, and what happens in the first minute after you stand up. That's what next week's video is about. If this helped you see something new, subscribe. Next week, I'm walking through why some adults over 60 feel dizzy, weak, or unsteady right after standing, and the overlooked habits that may make it worse. And in the comments, I'd love to hear this. Which meal is hardest for you to get right? Breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Take good care of yourselves. I'll see you next week. This video is for general educational and informational purposes only. It is not medical advice and does not create a doctor-patient relationship. Please always consult your own qualified healthcare provider for diagnosis and treatment. Illustrative scenarios in this video are composites. All identifying details have been changed to protect privacy. Any resemblance to a specific individual is unintentional. Portions of this video use AI-assisted voiceover and visuals.